Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jacob True and I'm one of the founders of the Central Valley Film Project. Today, I'm joined by the two other co-founders of the Central Valley Film Project, Roman Acosta and Marciano Zapien.
Hey.
Hi.
We're doing something a little bit different today. I thought it'd be a really fun idea to just have a very loose discussion about various controversial topics in film. So today we're just gonna be kind of, bouncing off of each other and talking about something very specific in filmmaking that's probably gonna tear the audience, honestly.
What are we talking about?
Oh, what are we talking about? All right, so the topic today is, does a filmmaker make a film for themselves or for the audience? Thoughts?
Roman looks like he wants to empty the clip, so go for
not
it.
yet.
I'll go ahead first and say that personally, I'm audience. I think a filmmaker makes a film for the audience when going into a project.
Why?
Well, why do you show a video to other people if it's for you? So that means when you're crafting a film, it is for the audience. So you are expressing yourself, but at the end of the day, when you're making the hard choices about a film, it should be for the audience. Because if you're just making it for yourself, no one's gonna relate to it, and at the end of the day, why show it to anyone then?
Okay, yeah, but there's also an argument to make. All right, here's where I come in. I think that you should make the film, well, in some cases you can make the film for yourself. If you decide to tell the story that you want to tell, like for yourself, it's like you're doing this thing for yourself. Like you're making this film for yourself because maybe it's like a certain passion you have or a certain story or topic you really want to tell, and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna do it for me. I think of Terrence Malick, right? He makes those films in a way that are really different, but I think he's doing it for himself because they're not good films. They're not the greatest films. They're good films. They're not the greatest.
Whoa, wait a minute. If we're making it for ourselves, then at that point, is that the gradation of like, it's
okay, but
it's not good per se, but I liked it.
But there's a risk because if you decide to do it for yourself, sometimes they're not the greatest because you have a certain route or direction you want to go to.
What do you mean by not the greatest? Like, do you mean like they're not blockbusters or they're not critically well received?
Sometimes that. Yeah, sometimes both.
Or sometimes both?
Sometimes both.
Okay.
I think the elephant in the room that's being dodged is the fact that it doesn't adhere to the blockbuster model. Like it's so within the confines of his own like aesthetic at that point that he's pleasing himself aesthetically, and where he's supposed to make the mark of like the audience is supposed to enjoy this, like they sort of clash in different films. Like you can tell like this is a Spike Lee joint. Like that.
No, I agree with you. Keep going.
No, yeah, this is a Spike Lee joint, but is it like the greatest? Is it like a Spike Lee, a hallmark? No, it doesn't always have to be, but it is most definitely his aesthetic. So it's, I don't know, like that's just my take on it.
Well, let me hop in here. So to go over like blockbusters, I think we can all agree blockbusters are for the audience, like that category of film, like your Marvel, MCU movies, Fast and the
Star
Furious.
Wars.
I don't think that's a personal expression of the filmmaker. So we can agree those are for audience. But I would still argue art house films are still for the audience, even when they're experimental, even when they're abstract. The reason that a filmmaker does that is to push the medium and to be critically well received in that way. Do you know what I mean?
It's to make their mark on film language and film, like just film history at that point. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, and if you're trying to make your mark on history, you inherently need to do it for the audience, quote unquote. So the audience doesn't necessarily have to be the people paying the tickets and buying the DVDs or the merchandise. It's whoever consumes that film, whether it be critics, fellow filmmakers, basically anyone who isn't you is my definition of the audience. So if you're trying to like push the medium in unique ways, it is to get a rise or get a reaction from other people, in my mind, at least. Because if you were just merely trying to communicate it for yourself, I still think, again, I don't know if anyone's directly answered this, why show the film to anyone at that point? Why not just make the film, watch it yourself and go, all right, that was my catharsis. I got it out of the way. What would I gain by showing other people if I made this film for myself?
It's not necessarily that it's totally gratifying, like self-gratifying. Like I see the argument that you're trying to make, but at the same time, under those like pretenses that it's like I want people to get like or to respond to it or sort of play with it. It's not for my own self-gratification. I will say, like, you ever see Sleep by Andy Warhol? It's literally like I don't know how many hours of just a Super 8 camera on somebody sleeping. He also has another one called Eat, where he's eating one Whopper after the other Whopper, just looking deadpan into the camera, getting a rise out of people. And it's just, is it self-gratifying to, I want to get a rise out of people? So
I was going to say, at that point, you're trying to provoke the audience, you know? And
but was it liked?
Oh, it doesn't have to be for a positive reason. It's just, when I say I'm making a film for the audience, or a filmmaker is making a film for the audience, it doesn't mean pandering, because that could definitely be the connotation to it. Like, oh, I'm just trying to please an audience. It's like, no, I'm trying to get some sort of reaction from the audience or emotional resonance, whether that be relating to my experiences as a filmmaker, and thus that's why I crafted this film, is to better have people relate to my experience, or to just purely piss people off because it's fun.
Okay, let me ask you this. Before you've gone into a film, like before making it, have you asked yourself, is this for me or is this for the audience?
Usually when I'm coming up with an idea, it's just like, I come up with an idea and I think, that's pretty cool. I like that idea. And then I think of how to refine it to where it's not just a cool idea to me, it's now a cool idea to everyone.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people, I'm sure all three of us can agree, we don't go into a film before making it like, you know what, this is for me, or this is for the audience, you know? I think it's just, after sort of thinking about it right now, it's like, you know what, like, maybe I have these certain things I want to tell, you know, and get something off my chest. I don't know, if I put like my own, like, just like your own like sweat and blood into it, you know, and all that stuff, like obviously that goes in every film, but like it has some of you in it, you know, like a part of like some of your life into it, you know. Mm-hmm.
And do you but that's the thing, at one point, do you sacrifice your own convictions, like that refinement? Do you sacrifice your own convictions in favor of something that is not necessarily trope, but just fits a model? Like, you know, like, oh, let's raise the stakes here because at like this point in any short film that I've seen, like mid act 2.
Yeah.
Like, we don't necessarily have to do it. Maybe my goal is to make it like, I'm going to set this up and just leave you hanging on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if you submit it to somebody, it's just a screenplay and you want to get it produced, people will be like, no, we have to go back to model. Like, we have to go back to formula. There needs to be a payoff. Well, what if I don't want there to be a payoff? Well, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So, like, where do you at one point sacrifice convictions? Because as much as I want people to, like, enjoy any like film that I make, I also just, I don't know, I want to show you something that you haven't seen. That's the primary thing in my head is like, I'm gonna enjoy making this movie because this is how I see it, but I'm also gonna do these things to where it's, I know that I've seen it, I want to make it where you haven't seen it.
It's like offering a new perspective, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is a chance for somebody else who's watching it to get a different perspective on something new, you know, like which made by someone else, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I don't know, that's my mindset going into whenever I write is just, I understand that like I'm gonna get the feedback that I'm gonna get I'm gonna get the feedback I'm gonna get, so I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do anyway.
A great saying that I've heard is, you can't break the rules if you don't know them.
Oh yeah,
you
for
know?
Sure.
So where there's still, in experimental films and in like any sort of medium to where someone's going off the beaten path, there are still fundamentals underneath it that help refine it. And the reason we have fundamentals is so it's better communicated to the audience. And
we about to get meta. We about to get meta. No, you are an audience member at the end of the day. Even as a filmmaker, you're an audience member. So even
like an audience to your own film.
Yeah, and just to film in general as the medium. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, however much you want to break the mold, you're still going to be a part of the mold. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you're still going to fit the mold because you know the story dynamics. Unless it's absolutely like you don't get the syntax and Like, you can tell when there's a syntactical error in any film. Like, and even if they meant to do it, it's hard to argue that it's meant. You see what I'm saying? Like, like imagine having a 2-act movie. That's hard to sell. Like, there always needs to be some level of like, it's almost impossible, in fact, because like, it's so funny to hear like kids tell stories
that you do.
Like, even how like scattered it is. It has a beginning.
Have you ever had a dream that
It has a middle that kind of meanders around.
That you
But then it also has an end. There's a point to it.
him to do you so much you could do anything?
There's like a twist also.
Yeah, unless
There's a twist.
But then he stole my candy and then I got it back but I had to
Yeah.
do this and
but like a lot of these like Sid Fields, all these people that like talk about screenwriting, like the insurmountable like second act into the third act. That's where your movie's gonna die is in that transition. They always say that, like, make sure you pay attention, because this applies to the kids too. Like, they'll get lost in the middle, and then at that point, if
You'd be like, wait, where was I going?
yeah, never mind. I want a snack now. See, it's like, but again, there is that that model. So you can't completely break the mold without still fitting within the confines. Like even rebels have a code.
As a filmmaker, do you guys feel more personally gratified when you just enjoy the film or when an audience enjoys the film? So like, let's say like during the 48-hour competition, it gets like just ripped apart. Everyone's like, geez, why did they even put that on the screen? That was awful. They must not have had many submissions if that made it up there. If you liked your film going into the premiere, do you think you would still like it coming out of the premiere after a reaction like that?
probably not. So I do want people to like my film that I make, you know? And
Marcy's still thinking. It's, I don't know, maybe.
No, I you know what? In my own experience, there was literally one point that if I can get them to do this, it's just predictive programming. If I can get them to gasp at one thing, and it's this thing, it was successful. I don't care.
Okay,
I don't
the rest
care how
is
it was
cool,
real.
as long as you had an intention behind a moment.
And sure enough, I got it. I got it
yeah.
in clutch, and I was pretty stoked about that. Everything else I cringed at, but as long as I get that one moment, if I can steal that one moment from you forever, then I'm down with it.
I want people to like my film.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and even if there's a part where people don't really like, I'm gonna try to defend it. Like, no, because you don't see it my way. But you know, obviously my way is just one way, right? And
Yeah.
I tend to get caught up, like, that's kind of a selfish act of mine, right? Like, it's kind of selfish of me, but like, sometimes it
I'm sorry. No, because I'm the same way. I'm like, no. You just didn't understand it. Let me.
yeah.
Guys, let me, you get out like the scripts, it's like, poof.
Yeah. No, but like, yeah, sometimes it's like, what do you mean you didn't like it? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's literally the way it is. Like, it's how it's supposed to be. No, I just thought it was boring, or I thought it could have been done this way. No, it can't be done that way. You know? No, it can't.
No, for sure.
I'll defend my film. You know, I'll defend it. But if
So he's definitely on the train of for filmmakers.
I'm stubborn, okay, I'll admit it sometimes, okay, but I don't want to be like, you know, like I just made the best film ever, you know. But I will agree, I have a lot of flaws, you know. There's always a lot of flaws in films, right? Especially at our level, right? We're not gonna be perfect. But if you try to if you try to convince me otherwise, like, yo, this is why this part was like bad, or this is why you shouldn't have included this, or you should have done it this way around. If you can like try to convince me and like I can agree with that, then it's like, okay, like, yeah, and I get it. Like, you know, constructive criticism and like learning and all that.
Yeah.
Even then, that's kind of stubborn to me. Like, no, like, I just gotta get over that. It's just who I am.
Wait, this is a question for you specifically, Roman. Has there been a time where someone brought up a criticism to you and you're like,
Yes.
you know what, I get that? Or have you always, or usually up to this point, been like, no, and then you get out like the annotated script, like, here's why that works.
Oh, we flipping it. So is he is it always get the script out, or is it?
No, it's never like get the script out. It's like, no, I think he should have done it this. You said something yesterday, True. That was.
What did I say?
So we were talking about the 48, right? Like,
yes.
you know, how, my first one.
Yes.
How Christian was like, "Oh, I'm so mad," you know.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
we're
like,
sneak previewing. We have another
God.
video coming out soon. We're gonna go over all of our first films and do a little roast review of them.
We both know there's one way to settle this. Indeed, we must defend our honor and fight for the princess.
That'll be
Yeah.
fun. But anyway,
Okay, so you said like, "Oh, Christian's like mad all the time." I was like, well, I kind of told him to be like that, and I kind of liked it, and I think there's a solid reason behind that. But we're gonna wait for that argument later. But you know, if there's something that I think like, you know what, they're right. You know, there's probably something on a technical level that could have been better. You know,
Yeah.
even part of the story. You know, the writing of it too.
Bro, when it's out there and it's up on screen, it's not mine anymore.
Why do you say that?
Like the making of the film, the concept of the film, that's mine. The meaning to me is mine.
Yeah.
But the minute it's up on the screen, it's not mine anymore.
But that's still your film. I get it. It's in the eyes of other people. But like, that's still your film. It's still your name on it.
No, I understand. And as much as I want to defend it, I think that projecting is one thing that I'm never able to do, even with the first 48-hour one.
Yeah.
And then just this recent little dealio that I'm gonna be putting out soon. Just like a fun little exercise. You know, like the criticism is the criticism, but at the same time, it's like I know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
So what you take from it, that's yours. I don't know.
I would say like making a film is like having a child. You know, like in a sense, it's yours.
Yeah.
But once it's of age and you send it out in the world, like it's out of your hands. You can't really tell what to do or how other people will treat it. You can't follow it around. You can't explain your film to every audience. Like you can't show up to every screening and then when someone's like, I didn't understand that. Like, what was that? You can't be like, okay, wait, no.
Wait, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Oh well, like even with David Lynch.
Oh,
Yeah, have you ever heard his interview with about Eraserhead?
I have not. Well, I've seen some random clips, so maybe I've seen.
Oh, he's awesome, dude. He is sitting down and they're like, well, like, how do you feel about your breakout film? And he goes, oh, Eraserhead is my like most spiritual film. And then the interviewer's like, care to elaborate? And he's like, no.
Believe it or not, Eraserhead is my most spiritual film.
Why elaborate on that?
No, I won't.
They're like, everybody laughed. They're like, wait, are you serious? He goes, yeah, I'm serious. I'm not gonna project anything on it. It's out there. It's up to you.
Oh, that's funny. So ultimately, I think the artist needs to express themselves. So there is a level of catharsis in the craft of like filmmaking. However, in order to properly express yourself, and the reason we express ourselves is to gather empathy from others, to communicate with others, relate with others, you know, get an understanding. And if you're gonna do that effectively, you do that with audience in mind. If you're doing it just for yourself, then in my opinion, you just put it in a glass box and keep it on your shelf because you're not communicating effectively with others. So when you're making it in a sense for the audience, so that they understand where you're coming from, either as a person or like with a certain ideology or a theme, whatever it is. When you're crafting the film, you're crafting a message, and you don't write a message to yourself. You write it to the audience.
I think like style, like the style of the artist, the style of the film, like goes into, that's like a big factor. Like you look at a Quentin Tarantino film, you know, you're watching Tarantino film, you know. I think that says a lot about who he is, you know, and his style and his preference. You also look at Scorsese too, right? You know, but he, you consider his history, his childhood and growing up and all that, and he sprinkles everything, you know, some of his personal life into his films. And, you know, the stuff that he's seen, that he saw growing up and all that, you know, it's just like you have your own personal life or personal experiences, not personal life, but, you know, the way you see the world sprinkled into your films you make, you know. And I think that says a lot about like the film you end up making.
Film as a medium is trying to make a connect. It's drawing all these inferences from art, from whatever you've seen, whatever you've heard, and trying to make an overall human connection. When I say like films are made for the filmmaker, it's if you don't have a story that's like keeping you up at night, and you have to get it made for like sanity at that point, that is where it's made for you. It's to get it out of your head, is to get it out and make that connection. I can't be the only one that feels this way or sees the world this way. That is then at that point it's for the audience, it's for mankind, but at the same time it's his initial contribution to this human connection. So it's for his sanity and it's for the audience's connection. So I'll concur on that level, but I ultimately think it really comes down to it should keep you up at night.
Well, there you go. What do you guys think? Do you think a filmmaker should make a film for themselves or for the audience? Leave a comment below and we can have a discussion about it. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook with the handle @CVFP209. Thank you guys so much for your support, and we'll see you on the next one.
Later, guys.
Later.